There's a ton of advice out there for how to be a great dungeon master, but there's not that much for how to be a good player. And I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Ragnar. So today's video is the first in a series we're calling the RPGA Players Academy. It's a collaboration with myself, Joe the Lawyer, and Eric Tankar. You will find links to their videos in the description below. So if you're watching this, please do check theirs out, like and subscribe, do the whole bit. You know what to do. And now, on with the show. So there are a number of different strategies that that players should be doing in order to make the experience of having them at the table better for everybody else at the table. And you know what I mean. Everybody has seen that player. The one who does all the wrong things and makes the experience really miserable for the rest of the players at the table. This video is going to talk about how not to be that player, how to be the kind of player that you want at your table. And the first thing I want to talk about is sharing the spotlight. Okay, everybody has seen the person who they always jump in. Whenever something new happens, they're the first one to speak up, and their character starts acting and doing and saying all the things. And that is rude. It's rude to the other players. You should be giving everybody else a chance to have their share of the of fame at the table, right? So don't necessarily have to answer every question first right off the bat. Yeah, you've got plenty of good things to say, but so does everybody else at that table. Give them that chance. Especially when you've got quieter players. A lot of players, by definition, they're introverts. They don't, they're not very assertive. Give them a chance to interject. Give them a chance to participate, and you'll make their experience so much better. And then you got to remember, you got to realize when you can step back, right? Okay, your character has done these three things. Okay, now just kind of let everybody else have their turn. Share that spotlight. And of course, and this should go without saying in outside of D&D, don't interrupt. If another character is saying something, or if the DM is saying something, just let them finish. Let them finish their sentence, and then if when there's a pause, that's when you speak up. So that's habit number one. Share the spotlight with everybody else at the table, and you'll be the kind of player that they want at the table. Now, habit number two, and this is one I have seen so many times. When you make your character, make it a character that is going to be a good part of a party, right? Because I've seen it so many times. Well, that's what my character would do. When the player wants to do something really obnoxious or random or just completely off the wall and disruptive, they step back into, well, that's what my character would do. Well, you know what? Don't make a character who's a jerk. All right, maybe do that. Maybe make a character that will get along with the other characters, because that means you as a player will get along better with the other players at the table. Don't be the hidden assassin or the or the traitor who's actually working for the bad guys, or who's constantly arguing and challenging the other players to like a duel or something, or you're stealing from the other players, or you're just a random barbarian buffoon and you're just going to attack anything that moves. Don't do that. Yes, that's what your character would do. Guess what? Make a different character. Hi, everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and now back to the show. Number 3. Help when the group needs to make a decision. Back in the olden days, we used to have callers. Back in my day, we used to have a caller for every 100 players at the table, and he'd tell the DM what everybody was doing, and we liked it that way. And we don't do that nowadays. That is a habit and a practice that has fallen by the wayside, and it's turned in sometimes, not all the time, obviously, but it does make the game drag a little more when everybody has to have input into making a decision. Like how do you want to attack this group of orcs, or how should we approach negotiating with with the Baron or whatever. You're making a plan. You're making your plans with the rest of the party, and it just you've been there. I know you have. I have. When it's just this endless cycle of what if. Well, no, I don't like that. We got to do this. We got to do that. Don't do that. Just help your fellow players make their decisions, make their plans, right? Don't just keep arguing endlessly, except when the consensus is that they want to do something else, right? Just accept that. Make compromises. Some people just dig in their heels and they will never compromise, and then when they don't get their way, they will sabotage what happens. Don't do that. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be a jerk. And it also comes back down to the second point. It's what my character would do. Well, you know, this time have your character do something else. Make yourself a better part of the game by helping rather than hindering when the group needs to come to a consensus. Number four is don't just play off of your character class, right? Because so many times, like a character class can be reduced into some MMO archetype, right? So if you're a fighter, you're the tank. If you're a cleric, you're the healer. If you're a thief, you're the scout. You don't have to be that. You can have characters who are the antithesis in terms of personality from what their character class would imply. We've seen in Greyhawk, for example. There are Tensor famously would just charge into battle. He's a magic user, and he would take his staff and he would just go into combat. There's nothing wrong with that, and it can really help the game sometimes because you're creating a much more well-rounded character when you do that. If you're just playing to type, if every time you have a fighter or a barbarian and you're just charging into battle and that's all you ever do, then you're not only cheating yourself out of a better play experience, but you're denying that better play experience to the players around you at the table. So don't just make your character an archetype. Play against types sometimes. Throw in some interesting personality stuff. But again, don't make it like antisocial. You can still be a brooding character and still be a valuable part of the party. But just don't feel like, oh, I'm a cleric, therefore I'm a healer, and that's all I'm ever going to do. No, that should not be the case. Every character is a well-rounded character, and that will make your character more welcome at the table, and that'll make you a better player and a better experience for your fellow players. And number five, this is a subtle one, but it is so cool when you see it happen at the table. Uh, in character, like not as a player, but your character, make your character interested in the other characters, right? So when you see a character who's doing a little role playing, exploring their own character, roll into that. Let's say one of the other characters at the table says, "I hate necromancers." You can just chime in and say, "Well, why? Why do you hate necromancers? What happened? What happened to you?" And then you can start up a little role playing. Maybe it will take a couple of minutes at the table, but they will be very valuable minutes at the table because you are helping that other player explore their character. When they leave those little character hooks lying around, it's not just for the DM to take a bite. You can too, and the reverse of that, you should be laying out those little things. You don't have to start reciting your whole 12-page backstory. You just throw out a little thing. Uh, you know, um, you just throw something out like, "This is why I left home." And maybe somebody will pick it up, maybe they won't, but now you've set the stage for something. Make the game more interesting for everybody at the player through the actions of your character and through his interests and making him invested in the other characters. And that way you're going to make a much more cohesive group because it's going to give the impression that the characters care about each other and their pasts and their feelings. And that's going to make a much better experience. there you go. We'll, as I say, we'll talk about more of these on our live stream on Sunday night. But hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think of this particular topic. What kind of habits make you a better player, and how can you help other people pick up those habits and make it a much better play experience for everybody at the table. I'd love to hear your experiences. Hope you're going to stick with us for these Player Academy videos. Remember, these are not specific to D&D or anything else. These are hopefully going to be more general tips and tricks that anybody can use in just about any game. So hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be doing this for a while, I hope. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.